Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today, my project involves a classic reel. This is a Shimano. It's the super high-speed Speedmaster IV Triton version of the reel. This is a beautiful reel, high speed. As noted, it's a 6.1 gear ratio. And the owner brought this in for service. He's been watching the videos and he had asked me, can I do the upgrade to the Boca hybrid ceramic bearings for this reel? And also he said, well, he thinks he's got sticking drags or something. When he turned the spool, the handle's turning. So it's not turning terribly, but it is turning. He said, let's do a service overall on this reel. But more importantly, this reel is fished in salt water, and he's concerned that the salt water will have an impact on the original steel bearings inside. He'd like to get this ready for the fall fishing season, and would like to do the conversion to the hybrid bearings. Well, why do you do that? Well, hybrid bearings are ceramic. They don't rust and they don't corrode. So when exposed to saltwater environment, they are, by their nature, going to last longer rather than dealing with those elements that affect steel. The second thing is that, well, the Boca bearings are ABEX 7 bearings. That means it's got very, very minuscule differences in the size of each bearing. And, well, that's going to provide smoother performance, and it's going to allow you to cast the reel further. Now, he told me he uses this reel for drop fishing, but of course, when you're on the boat and fishing full, you may hook into, say, a striped bass or something that's going to give you a long run. And having that smoothness in that spool, which kind of isn't there today, right? We've got some issues going on here with this and all. Well, it's just going to give him the advantage in fighting that fish. So let's get started. We're going to take the reel apart. We'll show you how the reel is made. We'll show you how to service it, and we'll show you how to do those bearing upgrades. Now, I've done several of the videos on the Boca bearings, and folks have been asking me about them. You can get them at bocabearings.com. And they asked me why I'm so much into Boca bearings. Well, they're a dependable company. They've been around an awful long time. They're got a great support staff there. The products that they sell are outstanding products. And, well, I get the comment from time to time, gee, I've seen ceramic bearings on Amazon that are less expensive. Yeah, well, you will see them, but you won't see them in the ABEX 7 rating. You'll see a 3 or a 5 pretending to be a 7, and of course you'll see them at a lesser cost because, well, they cost less, but there's greater variation in the performance of those bearings. So why fool around? If you're going to make the change over to bearings, make the change over the way it should be done, which of course is to do it right the first time. And using Boca bearings as a supplier is just one of those ways to ensure that you're getting a quality product to help your reel last a long time and, well, to deliver the performance you expect from that. Well, I've removed all of the side plate casing. I may have to remove the handle. I'm not sure on this reel. Yep, got to remove the handle. Sometimes the side plate will come off in a straightforward, remove the frame screws and you've got it. Sometimes there's a bridge plate associated with it, and that's what we have here. So we'll take that mounting cap off. Next, we're going to remove the handle nut cap. Take pictures as you do this because, well, you just want to make sure you put it back the right way. We've got the handle. There's a spacer here. When we remove the star adjuster, that spacer will be independent. And while I'm doing this, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you like the art of servicing fishing reels, if you like to learn about how they're made, why they're made, how they're used, who makes them, when they were made, things like that, well, then I want to encourage you to do just that. Subscribe. That's what I try to cover in my videos. And, well, transfer that knowledge to you so that you can learn how to do it yourself. Well, here's one of the bearings where we will replace. That's on the gear shaft there. And now with those obstructions removed, we should be able to pull out and off on this. And you can see it's time for servicing this reel. That's very old grease in there. That's probably the reason why this reel is sticking when you go into free spool. You got a lot of old grease here. It's probably pulling down on it. Well, when I go to service this reel, the first thing I like to do is to remove those two springs. They have a way of just getting in and out of trouble by popping off. So take care of them right away. Here's that one bearing we're going to remove. Take pictures. That's the top bearing. And then we have a bearing shield washer. And we have a stack of these little tension washers. There's 4 of those. Pay attention to how those go. And then we have a big main gear. Underneath that we have a buffer washer between the main gear and the click ratchet. We have a anti-reverse dog, a pinion gear and yoke, a jack, and to remove the rest of this, take out that anti-reverse dog and spring, and we'll take out the click ratchet. That's this side of the fishing reel. What I like to do at this point is to clean these and inspect them. To clean, simply use a paper towel. If you can wipe everything off with the paper towel, you need to go no further. And then inspect. Make sure that there's no damage or debris or the like on there. And then this is a kind of a fabric washer. It's all greased up here. You need to make sure that you keep those together. And how do I keep all my pieces and parts together? Well, I use a parts tray. When I take my pieces and parts off, I use a fast food container to organize those pieces so that I know where they go when it's time to reinstall. Well, you can see we have another bearing underneath here. That's the spool bearing. And another bearing on the other side of this. So this reel will fly when we put those replacement bearings in here. Okay, just checking on this one. And we're going to have to open up the back side of this reel as well to get to remove the spool and have access to the other 2 bearings. So there's 4 screws on this side. I keep them separate. I know we took screws out of the other side and there's a chance that they are the same, but they're not. These are shorter screws. And so again, take mental notes or even take the physical notes. It doesn't hurt to have a notepad alongside you. Write down what your pieces are, where they came from, and so on. And that'll help you to get it back properly and without any worry. That's the 3rd one. They're all the same. And here's one more. I like using this Boca Bearings mat. This one is a rubber mat. If it drops, it doesn't bounce. Right? It kind of sticks. And you also have indentations here that if you wanted to leave your parts on the table, which I don't, they would go there without slipping away. All right, let's pull this side plate out. We've got the other bearing inside here. We have our spool, and we have an inner bearing here. So I'm going to just pull these bearings out, or push them out in this case. We're going to measure them, and we'll make sure that we can put the right ones back in. The bearing on the one side comes out easy. The one on the plate side, every now and then, becomes a little stubborn. You just need to work with these. I generally will use something like this, a little pick, and you can generally pull it out like that. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that that's the easiest thing all the time, but in this case, it worked. Okay, I just paused the camera for a moment. I went and got the bearings that I had ordered. There's a set of 3. And how do you order the bearings? Well, the best way to order the bearings is by bearing size. If you go to the Boca Bearing website, they're going to show you a listing of bearings by reel, and I'll put the part numbers in that I have for this one in the comments section. But to go over this again, bearings are measured by an internal diameter, an external diameter, and a height. So we're going to just take a moment here to show you. On the main bearing that was on that pinion or the gear sleeve, this is 30. Oh, do we have this in millimeters? Let's make sure. Nope, we had it in inches. Better. All right, so that's an 8 millimeter inside, a 16 millimeter outside, and a 5mm height. So that's how it's measured. It's measured internally, so it's 8 by 16 by 5. And you do the same with the other two to make sure that you get matching bearings when it's time to order them. That caliper I'm using is also from Boca Bearings, and they're available on their website as well. Okay, let's put these back here. But before I do that, I do want to take a moment to clean the frame. And to clean the frame, I'm going to use my rod and reel cleaner and a little kitchen scrubby. This one's kind of getting well worn, but you don't need a lot of abrasion. And in this case, I'm going to use Penn's rod and reel cleaner to do this. And if this camera's a little bit out of focus, I apologize. I'm just working on a very big reel, and I think I may have changed the piece. So let me just do a slight adjustment here. See if I can get everything back in frame a little bit better. Okay, that looks a little bit better. All right, I was just working on a big Penn Senator. I did a video on that one and had to change all the focal points because it was just so big. All right, I'm just using the Penn rod and reel cleaner. Again, this reel's very nice. The owner of it's taking care of it, and obviously they're searching now for making it the best it can be with the change out of those bearings. Okay, we're going to just take a moment here to clean the plate. We're going to do this on the other side now. There's two bearings here that we pulled. Let's replace those. And what I like to do when I do this, if I'm servicing it for a customer, I like to take the old one out, put the new one in place, and then package up the old one so that, well, they get their parts back and know that the pieces have been replaced. All right, simple snap in. And what you don't see is you don't see me oiling that bearing. And the reason for that is they will run the most efficient without oil. Oil will actually introduce some friction into the reel, the bearing, and it will slow the bearing performance down. Now, if you're in a situation where you're not looking for maximum speed or casting distance, but rather you're looking, maybe you're in a situation where you're fighting big fish all the time and you feel like you need lubrication to that, then go ahead and put a drop of oil, and only a drop of oil. These have rubber seals, but a drop of oil will work its way through there and will lubricate that reel. All right, simple enough, right? We just pulled them, replaced them. I'm going to take the spool, bring your spool back in, bring your side plate on, line up your screw holes, go to your parts tray where you had the screws. Let's put those back together. Well, while I'm doing that, I want to encourage you to ask questions. Maybe you have a question on this reel, maybe you have a question on those bearings, maybe you have a question about something completely different. Maybe you're working on a reel and you're stuck, trying to figure out how to get that reel back together again. Maybe you've taken something apart and you're not quite sure the direction a piece or part goes. Well, those are the types of things I try to encourage you through some tips and techniques here, like taking the pictures and that. But every now and then we get a little anxious, get ready to go and start pulling pieces and parts and get lost in the process. Well, if I can help you, I will. Just kind of leave a question in the comment section. I'll try to get you back on track. Maybe you have a question about a fishing reel you own or you're considering buying. Maybe you want to know a little bit about the age of the reel, when it was made, and so on. Or maybe you're just thinking about buying one and want kind of an unfiltered opinion. I'll be happy to provide you that information if I know anything about those reels. Every now and then it's kind of, let's play Stump Dennis, and that's okay too. Sometimes I just don't know the reel, but I will try my best to get you an answer. All right, well, that takes care of the bearing exchange. On the spool side, this thing is going to fly, right? We don't have any pressure on that at all, and we can sit here and talk all day while this thing runs, right? It's just a crazy change up in that. And that's the second reason why I always encourage folks that are interested in the ceramics to move over to those in a reel like this that's going to be in a saltwater environment so that they will not corrode. And secondarily, as you can see, you want to cast this thing's going to cast forever, right? You won't have any friction or anything to slow down the speed of your spool. That'll allow you to optimize your casting distance. All right, let's put this thing back together again, put that other bearing back on, and we'll give it a test. We'll see how we did. We're going to install these in kind of the reverse order that we took them off. We're going to use a fishing reel grease as we re-grease and re-lube. We're going to use Penn's Precision Reel Grease. And a little bit of reel grease onto the back end of that jack before you set it into the channel would be the next thing to do. Bring that into your channel. Then we're going to want to clean the gearing. Well, in this case, the gears are all clean. They're out of lubrication. That could be a sticking point, if you will. You did see that we had a lot of dirt and debris on that inside case, and we'll get over there and clean that up in a moment. But let's just take care of this. Then we have our yoke. Now on the back of the yoke, there is a little slanted section here that's going to face forward. So make sure you have that in the right direction. There's two little bump outs on that yoke that are going to press down here, so you need to make sure it's in the right direction to make it go easy. And then the slotted side of the spool also faces in, or pinion gear rather, to accept the spool. Kind of goes like that. And what I like to do when I put it in this situation is twist it to make sure that it lodges onto the spool. That'll make it easier to install the case later. I'm going to put those two springs on now. Then once that pinion gear is in, well, we can go over to this drag stack. We already cleaned up our gear. I'm going to bring that in. And while I was thinking about this, I was just trying to think about the direction of that anti-reverse dog, and did I have it correct? Now we have the spring that goes on to the post here. We have the post that the dog mounts to, just like that. And yes, I do have the direction correct. It needs to fit into that little notch in that click ratchet. All right, we'll take a moment here. Those are the other two bearings. Take a moment here to check out the drag washer on the inside of this. These are greased up, and that's good. That's the way it should be. These are fabric washers, and well, you want to keep those lubricated. I'm going to switch over here. See, all right. So this is the other reason why that handle was stuck, because your drag washers are kind of stuck on here. So I think that it's been a while since the washers have changed out. Kind of become married to the metal plates. And when that happens, well, they become less effective. So be careful with these. You don't want to break them. They are kind of a composite type of a thing, but we got to get that old grease off of there. And we'll do just that. All right. So we have one center one. Then we have our fabric washers. So they need the good grease again. All right, let's take care of that. Then we're going to grab the paper towel. We should be able to do it with that again. And if you don't, go back to the assortment of tools that you have. Maybe you want to use that kitchen scrubby. Maybe you want to use something a little bit more aggressive, like a piece of steel wool or something. But in this case, it's just dried grease on here. That's what's causing your handle to stick, because there is no movement on it. So this is kind of an all or nothing at all situation here with the drag washers. There's limited adjustability throughout the range because of the sticking. So you have the option with drag washers of greasing them or letting them go plain. This one probably should have the grease on it. One, because those washers are permeable, and two, because, well, with the big fish you're fighting, it's going to make the reel hot, and that's going to cause the drag washers to kind of burn down if you're not careful. So I don't mind them putting the grease on this at all, but it's been a long time since this reel serviced, despite how nice it looks. You can see how it's just caked on there, and well, you just got to get that off, or otherwise it's just kind of becoming like a kind of a tar or a taffy kind of a piece, and well, that's going to be a no-slip kind of an environment in that situation. All right, I think we're kind of getting there. And you can see I'm using a variety of tools. We'll use a little cotton swab here to see if we can't break that up a little further. All right, I think we got it now. All right, this one will work fine by the time we get done with it now. All right, nice, clean, shiny center. Check your teeth. Again, there's no evidence that there's anything caught in there, but it doesn't hurt to take a bristle brush and pull through, just to knock anything out that may be hiding in the valley. And there's a little debris coming onto the piece here. Okay, let's grease up the main gear. Again, use fishing reel grease only. In this case, it's Penn Precision reel grease. Yeah, I know it's a Shimano reel. I really don't notice much difference in the manufacturer's greases. If you want to use Shimano grease, go right ahead and get that. I work on a lot of reels, and I've never gone wrong with the Penn greases, so I stay with them. But make sure you use a fishing reel grease regardless of who's making it in the servicing of your reels. Let's bring this in. Make sure it snaps on there nice and tight. Now these do have to get greased, and I'm going to use Cal's Universal Drag Grease for this, just because I have it. If you don't have the grease, don't worry about it. Use your fishing reel grease. It's not going to make that much of a difference. And the same goes on the other side of it. If you don't have fishing reel grease, but you have the Cal's Universal Grease, go ahead and use that. Okay, this one sets down. And this one actually has a little stud on it, like an eared washer, so make sure you use that. Next up then is the metal washer, and you can actually put a little grease on that metal washer. This is the one with the square hole that's going to mount in the bottom. Next up, this is a hard washer, doesn't need the grease, but again, that got stuck on the other one, so it doesn't hurt to put that in there. Next up then is the eared washer. Points go down. They fit in that slot. Got another one of the fabric washers, so let's go ahead and grease those up. Then we got a top washer. And that essentially is the front side of the gear. Now there should be a little bit of cleanup left on the side plate here, so let's go get that done. There's a little bit of grease left over here. I'm going to use a penetrating oil for, and a cotton swab. So black fishing season, or tautog, whatever you want to call it, tog for short, that's coming up here in the Northeast in about a month or so. And that's what this fellow wants to get the reel ready for, and it certainly will be ready to do that. Okay. Before we leave this, we had the 4 spacer washers that went on here. They're belly to belly kind of washers. They're curved, they're not flat. That's why you see a separation. You go to rim twice, you will get the separation in the center. And we got our brandy new, oops, we don't want to put that. That was an oops. We don't want to put that. There's a bearing shield that goes under there first. Shield washer. And we can put the bearing on. Now we can reinstall the case. Let's make sure that that anti-reverse dog is working. Yep, it's working. We're all good on the side plate. Let's bring the side plate over. Make sure that it fits nice and tight. You have a click and solid seams all around. Go back to your parts tray then. Put the bearing shield on this side. That was the one piece in the parts tray that I didn't notice before. The longer block screws, if you put them all together, the longer block screws are the ones that go on this side plate. That makes sense. This side is thicker than the other side, so you need a little bit more reach on those screws. Grab your screwdriver and let's tighten those down. I can't wait to see this one lined up. I'm sure it'll cast beautifully, and it's all ready to catch a lot of fish to come. Well, I guess I'm going to apologize here if I just ran out of the frame. I was working on that big reel before, and everything had to be moved to the right, and I suspect maybe what I'm doing now is pushing it the other way. Okay. One more of these, then we have the 2 screws from behind. Make sure they're all nice and tight. Grab those 2 screws from your tray. Guess I've used a lot of tools in this particular exercise here, and having a little bit of trouble finding them, but that's okay. One more screw here. And we're almost done with the reel. Got an overly tight side plate adjuster spool there. Okay. Always check all your pieces of work as you're doing this. One of the things I was wondering about is, did I have the stud from the free spool lever in on the jack there? Sometimes I forget to marry them up. Looks like we got that done. So there's one more thing to do here. Get this shim washer in. Bring our handle over. Our nut cap. Tighten down on that nut cap, tighten down on your star adjuster so you don't trap it under the handle. And generally speaking, if you have that point of that nut cap pointing to that hole for the tie-down screw, this should fit right. And it does. We also have one more screw here, which is the hold-down cap screw, which is the first one we took off. And then we'll be able to give it a test, see how we did. So we've done a lot. We've kind of taken you through the journey of why this individual wanted to upgrade the bearings from the standard stock steel ones, from, well, they're aged now, to the hybrid ceramics. We showed you the importance of that in a saltwater environment. We showed you how to take this reel apart and service it completely. Now let's show you the results. Okay, it's a beautiful reel all around. Again, it is the Shimano Speedmaster Triton. It's a 6.1 gear ratio. And well, let's put it in the free spool, see how we did. Well, again, as a talking point, we could sit here all day with this. Flip that around. Again, you want to speed it up, just kind of back this off a little bit more, that spool adjuster, and it'll just keep going and going and going. Imagine that with some weighted line. Of course, you're going to cast it in this direction, but weighted line on there, this thing is going to throw it a long, long way. Let's put it into gear, make sure that that drives. Oh, it drives just beautifully. What could you expect? So you have new oils, fresh grease, cleaned up the debris and the dirt inside of that, cleaned up the frame, and we've got quite a winner here. We got a beautiful reel all around, and well, I'm sure they won't be long before this one is fishing. I hope you've enjoyed it. I appreciate you watching this video through. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you want to see more, that's the best way to do it. You'll see all of the videos I'm posting when they post, and you'll be able to make a decision as to whether that's one that you want to watch. Again, I want to take a moment here to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, and rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. And I want to thank you, the viewer. You're making this channel what it is by your participation in the channel, the comments that you leave, the questions that you ask, and the suggestions that you have regarding future videos. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day. Thanks for watching.